So thank you again for being with us today for this scholarship open house. We're going to be going into the Washington Society of Certified Public Accountants, the scholarships that we provide through the Washington CPA Foundation, what the eligibility requirements are, what materials are needed to be submitted with those applications, and then some best practices to make sure that you are putting out the best application possible when applying for these scholarships. So my name is Benjamin Warren. I am the Student Outreach and Initiatives Coordinator with the WSCPA. And on with me is Monette Anderson. I don't know if she's able to introduce herself real quick. I'll let her do that.
Hi, I'm here. Yeah, I'm very excited to have you all here. I've been working with the foundation in the scholarship program for several years now. Benjamin and I have been both been involved in managing this process and working with our reviewers. So we're sort of approaching it from that. We hoped we could have a reviewer here with you today, and we weren't able to, but I think we've seen enough of the feedback and worked with the reviewers enough that we can pretty confidently pass on the feedback on what they're looking for, as well as the scoring metrics and the best way to be successful. So welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. So let's see. So you may have heard of the WSCPA through the information that we have sent out regarding scholarships, all of that communication that we've done with schools, with Beta Alpha Psi, with other student groups. You may already be a student member, maybe you've completed the scholarships before, or maybe this is your first time hearing about this organization. So very briefly, we are a community of CPAs and financial professionals cultivating authentic relationships, unique learning experiences, and purposeful advocacy for our future. So WSCPA is committed to serving the professional needs of CPAs, and we support our student members on their path to CPA licensure. So we are your member organization to help you become a CPA and beyond as you start your professional career. And we do that through our three areas, our three pillars: connection and community, where we provide unique benefits and opportunities for our members to connect with peers and professionals; through professional development, where we provide educational opportunities for lifelong learning, career growth, and compliance with the continuing education licensing requirements; and then through our advocacy, where we support and engage members in advocating for the profession and the public interest on issues affected by the profession. So that's just a quick look at who we are. And then with the CPA licensure, if you're not already familiar, it breaks down into really four key areas. The three here: education, so making sure you are meeting the semester or credit hours through your college career, with a number of those being in accounting, and then even some of those being at the upper level, the grad level of accounting. So with the education, it goes a little bit beyond that 4-year of a typical undergraduate degree. So some students will be going into a 5th year of college to meet that education requirement, or they'll be getting a master's degree to meet that requirement. And then the exam, broken up into the 4 sections. You need to pass all 4 sections with a 75 or higher each in order to pass the entire exam. And then the experience component, 2,000 hours, or that translates into about 12 months of experience. And that would be verified by a licensed CPA. And then there is also an ethics requirement, an exam that needs to be passed as well. Once all 4 of those parts are completed, you are on your way to getting your CPA licensure and getting those 3 letters after your name. And for the WSCPA, we consider everyone a student until they have those 3 letters after their name. And so we're going to get into the scholarships, the reason we are all here. And so the WSCPA Foundation, it was established in 1973 by a group of WSCPA members who wanted to support accounting students with scholarship aid. So we've been giving out scholarships to accounting students ever since, but we had the opportunity to help even more students starting in 2015. Due to some budget shortfalls at the time, the Washington legislature wanted to sweep a surplus of funds from the State Board of Accountancy, which is the regulatory body that oversees CPA licensing. They wanted to put it in a general fund. The WSCPA mentioned, with our advocacy, how we could step up and use that money from the licensing fees that should go back to the profession. And because of that, we were allowed to administer the $3 million in funds for these scholarships. Scholarships are still supported by individual donations from members, as well as several named scholarships supported by different firms. So with that, we're able to provide over $500,000 of scholarships every year. And the foundation also provides annual grants. This is a way to increase access to the accounting profession and as a way to support a more diverse pipeline of accounting students. So as you can see, there are this year, which will be for the 2022 to 2023 academic year, there are 100 awards starting at $2,000. This is our new program that is for incoming freshmen and sophomores. There is a $5,000 award for undergraduates, which is juniors, seniors, and 5th-year seniors. And then up to $10,000 award for master's and PhD candidates. So we really have the potential to support students in their entire college career while they're pursuing a profession in accounting and their CPA licensure. So a couple of things I want to note: you do not have to be a WSCPA member to apply. This is open to all accounting students, and especially those who are going to be going into the CPA exam and pursuing the CPA license. There are no residency requirements, part-time or full-time. There are no restrictions on that. And no restrictions on students who currently hold a degree. So maybe there are students who had a degree in chemistry and decided to switch gears and go into accounting. They are welcome to apply for this as well. And if you have received an award before, you are still eligible to apply. Again, we can potentially support students every single year that they are in college studying accounting and pursuing the CPA license. The scholarships are for tuition only, and so they are only going to that tuition for the year that they're going to be applied to. So these that we're discussing today, the 2022 to 2023 academic year, the scholarships for those who receive them get paid to the college for tuition in the fall, and then that tuition or that scholarship can be used at the student's discretion. So it doesn't have to be used just for that fall. If students want to spread it out over the fall or winter and the spring semesters or quarters, they have the discretion to do that. But it does need to be applied only to tuition. So I'm going to start with our associate level. This is, again, for those incoming freshmen and sophomores. and talk a little bit about the eligibility there. For this one, it is a 2.5 GPA or higher, and then planning to pursue a career in accounting or become a CPA. So for this one, certainly with students coming directly out of high school or students who are just beginning their college career, they may not already be declaring a major, or they may not know exactly what their major is going to be. So they don't have to be specific accounting majors, but they do have to plan to continue with an accounting degree and plan to become a CPA. So we want to capture those accounting or finance or business students who are thinking about majoring in accounting and are thinking about becoming a CPA. For all the scholarships, the student does need to be enrolled currently or will be enrolling in an accredited Washington State college or university. For certainly the larger universities, it's very unlikely that any of them are not going to be accredited. If anybody has questions about whether or not their college is accredited, they can reach out to us, but it's highly unlikely. But they do need to be going to a school in Washington State. And we're looking for well-rounded students with community involvement. And community involvement for us could mean employment. It could mean volunteer activity, involvement with athletics or extracurriculars. It could also mean a membership in a professional organization. So there might be those students who have never had a job or have not yet started doing any volunteer activities, don't have that community involvement that they feel would apply. Being part of a professional community like the WSCPA would count towards that community involvement. So again, while I said students do not need to be WSCPA members, they can use WSCPA membership as part of that requirement for community involvement. And so with the applications itself, it requires submitting a current resume, unofficial transcripts, a short essay. This is just 500 words or less, so it's not terribly long, and then a recommendation form. And that recommendation form is sent directly to the recommender from the online platform we use called Kaleidoscope. So an applicant will just put in the recommender's name and email address and a message to that recommender, letting them know what this email is that they're going to be receiving. And the form will go directly to that recommender, and they just fill it out all out online. So it's not a standard letter of recommendation or a reference letter or anything like that. It's an online form that's going to be completed by the recommender. And so then we have our second level of scholarships, and this is the eligibility requirements, and the materials I'm going to talk about are for all the other applicants. So incoming juniors, seniors, fifth-year seniors, and then the graduate level of master's students and PhD candidates. These are the ones for undergrad that are $5,000 award, and then for master's and PhD candidates, the graduate level can be upwards of $10,000. So for this one, it is a 3.0 GPA or higher, and that is both cumulative and in the major. So overall, they need to have a 3.0 GPA. And then as an accounting major, within that major, that all their accounting classes need to be a 3.0 GPA as well. And they need to plan on taking the CPA exam. So they are declared as accounting majors and are set to take the CPA exam. Their goal is to get that CPA license, get those 3 letters after their name. And again, that they're enrolling in an accredited Washington State College or University. and well-rounded students with community involvement. So again, employment, volunteer activities, professional organization, athletics, extracurriculars, some type of involvement in their community. And so for this one, there's a little bit more to be submitted. Again, the resume and the unofficial transcripts. And then this one has 3 essays. Again, they are short at 500 words or less. And the recommendation is this time a letter of recommendation needs to be done on letterhead. And this can come from anyone. Even the recommendation forms, it can be an employer, so a supervisor or manager that you've had experience working with. It could be that volunteer coordinator if you do have volunteer activities. It could be a professor, someone on the faculty, someone that you feel is going to provide a good recommendation for you. And we will cover a little bit more about what we're looking for, and certainly what the reviewers are going to be looking for, specifically for the essays and the recommendation letters. With that, does anybody have any questions about the eligibility requirements or the materials that need to be submitted before we get into more specifics and tips on what to submit? Feel free to come off mute or throw it in the chat.
I have a quick question. For the graduate level transcripts, will we need to submit undergrad transcripts as well as the graduate transcripts?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So for masters, you would want to submit transcripts for any college or university you have gone to up until currently. Since we do have, this brings up incoming freshmen, they're coming off of high school, we will want their unofficial high school transcripts. But anybody who's currently attending college, that second level junior through PhD candidates should be providing transcripts from any college or university they have attended.
Okay, I have a question. I'm an international student. Are we allowed to apply for the scholarship?
Yes, international students are allowed to apply. Again, so long as you can supply the unofficial transcripts from any college or university you've been to. There is no residency, there is no international status requirement for our scholarships. And so long as it's going to a Washington State college or university.
Hey, Ben, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I just, for community involvement, and maybe I just missed it, and if so, I'm so sorry, but is this like community involvement accounting specific, volunteer work, or being something, or it's just like any kind of community involvement here in Washington or where you are?
Yep, any kind of community involvement. Certainly if you have that experience working for an accounting firm, you can include that. But it could also be, students who are involved in athletics. They played football or basketball or soccer, softball, whatever it might be. Those count. Extracurriculars, maybe they were in drama club or glee club. Really just able to show experience working within the community in whatever capacity they see that as.
So I work here in Seattle, so that is community involvement, like my day job. Is that enough? Or yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you have other things to add, feel free to add them. Again, I always say you don't have to be a member to apply for the scholarship, but it's another easy thing for a $40 student membership to put on your resume that you're also a member. But I'd say we're looking for well-rounded students. So in some cases, we recognize that somebody has a lot of career experience because they're a second career applicant, or they have family obligations and aren't able to volunteer as much. We want to sort of recognize all those areas that make a well-rounded candidate.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you for the questions. We're going to move on to get into the materials you'll be submitting, and again, some tips, some best practices, what the reviewers are going to be looking for when they are reviewing the applications and the materials that are being submitted. So to start off with the resume, probably heard these before, but we want to get the basics out of the way, because this is really the important stuff that reviewers are going to catch. So there was a 2017 article on the Muse about the top resume mistakes that Google's head of HR sees all the time. And these 3 areas here on this slide were mentioned, and that is proofreading, length, and substance. So you're probably very familiar with, you want to read, you want to proofread, correct those errors you might see. But it may surprise you that a Career Builder survey said that 58% of resumes still contain typos. And we've done panels with firm recruiters and industry professionals. And while they give a decent amount of leeway here, they still want to see that students are proofreading their resumes. Accounting is a very detail-oriented profession, and so missing some of those very easily noticed, very easily recognizable proofreading, typo, grammar errors, formatting errors can make a reviewer or make anyone checking out someone's resume look at it a little bit more negatively. So some tips for that: print your resume. So after you've gotten it all typed out, you've checked it over on your computer, try printing it out. You might catch something as you're printing it out with those typos or those formatting errors that might come up in a printed hard copy. You could also change the font size. So making the font bigger or smaller might help you notice different areas of your resume that you missed under a normal or what you regularly use for your font. And then read from the bottom up. That will give you a fresh perspective on how your resume looks back to front. And then have a second set of eyes. So if there is somebody you have that you feel comfortable having them look over your resume, maybe they have experience doing that. Maybe there are resume review events that your college sets up, certainly in the accounting or business departments. The WSCPA provides a couple of those during the year, virtual resume reviews, where we have some of our professionals from different firms and industries do a quick 10-15 minute review of a student's resume and provide feedback on it. So if you have those second set of eyes, that can be really helpful. And then once something is fixed, stop trying to change it. If it looks good to you, if it looks good to the reviewer, stop trying to change it. The more you tweak something, the more likely it is to get to a point where you're not sure how to get it back to something that is readable. And then with length. So once you've gotten the proofreading, as you're going into length, you want a focused resume that demonstrates your ability to synthesize, prioritize, and convey the most important info about you. So again, with accounting being a detail-oriented job, if you can't prioritize that experience, if you can't succinctly detail what it is about yourself that makes it so a recruiter should hire you, they may be hesitant to prioritize your resume, and they may be hesitant if you get a job to prioritize that workload. So certainly with our reviewers, with the scholarship reviewers, you want a resume that again focuses on your achievements, focuses on your accomplishments, your experience, whether that's work or volunteer or extracurricular, or whatever that community involvement is that we had talked about earlier. And then with substance, it's all about substance over style. So you're not submitting a resume for a scholarship on graphic design. This is about accounting. So you want to make sure that it's a clean and legible resume rather than one that has unique formatting or pictures or graphics all over the place. And making sure that that formatting, whatever you choose, works in whatever program it's going to be opened in. Typically, this is going to be PDF. So again, when you're saving that document, try saving it to different file types. Try it as a Word document, as a PDF. See if you can get it into a Google document and see what it looks like in that format. Certainly the go-to is usually PDF, but trying different formats will help you see what it might look like if a reviewer or if a hiring manager is opening that document as a different format. And now on to some more detailed aspects of the resume. Just some additional resume rules to consider. First and foremost is keeping the best stuff at the top third of the resume. This is where certainly the reviewers are going to be looking, but recruiters and HR staff, that's where their eyes are going to go first. A lot of the volunteers that we have are professionals who have done resume reviews, who have been hiring managers or recruiters. So they are trained and they have experience in looking at potential employees and students' resumes. So keeping the best stuff at the top third is what is going to catch their eye. And then ditch the objective for a summary statement. And the reason for that is that most don't say anything unique. They just take up valuable space and they don't typically make a great first impression because they can be rather boring. So you might see, to obtain an entry-level accounting and auditing position with an established and respected certified public accounting firm. That's a summary statement, not unique, rather boring. It's very generic, and it really doesn't say anything about the person who wrote it. It doesn't say what their achievements are. It doesn't say what they hope to accomplish at a firm, and it certainly doesn't say what is in it for the firm that is looking at it, or for the hiring manager or the reviewer who is looking at it. Why should this individual be given a job, or in our case, a scholarship? Highlighting those, the value, the coursework, maybe GPA, again, that community involvement, maybe an internship, actual job experience, volunteer experience, whatever those accomplishments are, really focusing on what the reviewer, what the hiring manager is going to get out of proceeding with your resume. Making sure not to include contact information, or not much of it, certainly. Limiting it to just email and phone. You don't need to put your home address out there. Certainly, as you know, these are being passed around, and with the ever-growing concerns of security and identity theft, making sure that it's limited to email, phone number, what you're comfortable having on that resume. No need to worry about the mailing address. And then the New York Times test is, if your resume appeared on the front page of the New York Times, would you be okay with the information it contained? Would you be happy with the way it looks? So kind of going back to the formatting, to the style, to the typos and grammar errors, but also the contact information. If this is on the front page of the New York Times, are you okay with everybody having your mailing address? Probably not, but having your email on there so that someone can actually get in touch with you as you're applying or submitting a resume. You just want to make sure that you are okay with the information being submitted. And certainly making sure that you are being truthful with the information being shared. Folks will go back to your references or recommenders. So if you're lying about experience, certainly that would make it an uncomfortable experience for the recruiter reviewing this and hearing that a potential employee has been lying on these documents. So with that,
regarding, I was just going to add that regarding, as far as who has access to your, resume and information, it's going to be the reviewers looking at your profile. They do have, with the way our documents work, they can, it's kind of a download that goes to their system and then opens it. So as far as, the things like who has access to your resume and things, it's our review team that is, trained, and they're usually licensed CPAs or members in some other form. But it's just, again, if you're going out to meet the firm or something and you're handing out your resume at random tables, I think it's a little different if you're handing out a resume directly to an HR professional or applying for a job. But sometimes if, you're posting more broadly online to your network, those are the times that you want to keep your your address a little more locked down and only be sharing that in official applications and things like that. Just protect yourself.
all right, so moving on to the essays. So again, with the incoming freshman and sophomore, there's one short essay. With the undergraduate and graduate applications, it is 3 short essays, 500 words or less. So the first point is it compelling? So you want to speak to your story in terms of what are your goals? Why are you pursuing being a CPA? How will this scholarship help you achieve those goals? How will this scholarship help you on your path to becoming a CPA? We'll talk about the specific questions that those essays cover in just a minute, but really speaking to your passion and your interest in the accounting profession and specifically becoming a CPA. And then is it succinct? So you only have 500 words to talk about your entire experience in college, on your way to becoming a CPA. And I'm sure you could use those 500 words very quickly. Certainly you don't need to use all 500 words. You don't need to make it 499. For some of those questions, maybe 200, maybe 100. But you do want to keep it succinct. You have that limited amount of space. The reviewers are going to be going through a number of these essays. So you want to make sure that it's simple, easy to read, and really focusing again on you, your passion, your interests, your goals, and what you've achieved so far and where you're going to be going from here. And then again, I mentioned this with the resume, but you want to make sure that it is true, that everything you've put down is in fact the experience you have. Keeping track of multiple lies is not going to be easy across all of the materials that are going to be submitted. And with a number of reviewers checking each of those, you want to make sure that everything you are saying again is true and you're not exaggerating any of that experience or any of those accomplishments or achievements that you do actually have. And then is it proof? Again, we talked about this with the resumes, but it's true for any of the written documents you're going to be submitting. You want to make sure that the typos, the grammar, spelling errors, the formatting, all of that has been looked over both by you and hopefully somebody else, so that it is going back to, is it succinct, that simple and easy to read, it's proofed, it looks professional, and it is in the best state it can possibly be before being submitted. And so when you're thinking about these essays, you want to keep some of these questions in mind as you're writing them. Certainly know thyself. What is your story? What are you trying to share? Again, your goals, where you've been so far, your current experience in school, with your education, your professional development. What can you say about yourself that really ties into these essays? And knowing your audience, who are the foundation reviewers? Again, these are professionals who come from a variety of industry and firm and really professional backgrounds. And they have this experience in reviewing resumes, reviewing applications. They have maybe experience with students. They have experience with interns. So making sure that, there was the question about accounting specific, certainly not necessary to some of these questions that are being asked, but this is who you are speaking to. So you really want to show specifically where you're going with your accounting degree, and certainly for the undergraduate and graduate level, eligibility requirement is becoming a CPA. So what do you hope to do with that CPA license? How do you hope to get there? Maybe talk about what specialties you're interested in, what areas of accounting you're interested in, and what you're doing currently to meet those, and how the scholarship will help you get there. And then to stand out, what makes you different? What experience do you have? What are those big accomplishments that you're really proud of, that you've been able to achieve? Really talk again about you and why you deserve, why you are worthy of this scholarship, where your value is, and again, how you're going to turn that into a career in accounting and a CPA license. And then going back again to that focus on details, you have a limited amount of time, so you don't want to let distractions really cost you those points. Focus in on what you want to say and how you want to say it, without going off into tangents or rambling. You have that 500 word limit, so make sure you know what you want to say, and proofread as you go, and certainly once you're done, to make sure that you have built that concise and that easy to read and passionate story about yourself and your future. So I did want to share the essay questions so that you do have a chance to look them over, maybe prepare as you get going with the scholarship application. And for the associate level, so incoming freshman and sophomore, the first essay, what made you interested in the field of accounting, or what are your academic or professional goals? And then there is an optional one. We do recommend for students to complete it, but it is optional. Tell us anything unique about you or challenges you've had to overcome that you'd like to share with the review committee. So again, this is all about the storytelling side of things, keeping in mind that a number of reviewers are going to be checking part of that scholarship review committee. So keeping these questions in mind and taking your time with them. The deadline is February 14th. There will be a slide about that coming up. So you have 3 weeks. Give yourself that time. You can save as you go. You can work it out, write an outline, write rough drafts, all of that. But so long as you're working on it and submit it by the 14th, you have a decent amount of time to get your ideas together to build a cohesive essay. And then for the the upper level, again, junior through PhD candidate, these are the 3 essays. Again, 500 words or less for all of them. And the first one, please describe your path to study accounting and choosing to become a CPA. What led you to target this career path? Who inspired you along the way? Or what opportunities do you see in this career path? Essay 2, how will this scholarship help you meet your educational and career goals? And essay 3, tell us up to 3 things you would like the review committee to know not listed elsewhere on your application. So we talked a little bit earlier about what makes you stand out, what makes you different. And this is really a great opportunity to showcase that and really talk about anything that hasn't yet come up in your resumes, your other essays, your transcripts. Maybe there is, an accomplishment outside of what you were able to include for time or for length on any of that you really want to focus in. Maybe it's, a hobby you're interested in. Maybe it's family background, whatever it is that you want to bring to really stand out in the eyes of the reviewers. The essay number 3 is a great place to do that. And Monette, I don't know if you wanted to add anything about the essays for either of the scholarships.
No, I think what you had is great. Again, we definitely see our share of people that say, I want to be an accountant because, I want to be a CPA because I love accounting. So again, I think it's really just thinking about how the bulk of people are probably going to answer it and taking into account that reviewers see a lot of kind of the same answers. So telling a story, setting yourself apart is definitely key here. Just want to make sure we are reinforcing that here.
Okay, and so the last piece is the letter of recommendation. For the incoming freshmen and sophomores, again, it's not a letter, it is a recommendation form. So the point on there about the letterhead isn't necessarily going to apply, but all of these other points are. So first off, you want to choose wisely. So whether you're looking to a CPA, maybe your employer, that supervisor or manager that you've been working with, maybe it's a professor or faculty member at your college, or maybe it's a mentor, somebody you've been speaking to for a while, a volunteer coordinator, something along those lines. You want to choose wisely, as they are going to be writing a recommendation and you want to make sure it's positive. So if you're concerned, certainly that what somebody might say is not going to be positive, try to think of somebody else or going to reaching out to them, with being confident, that letter of intent. You want to see if they're willing to provide this recommendation, and if they're going to provide a positive message. So that letter of intent, you want to say why you're applying for this scholarship, how it will help you achieve your academic and professional goals, and providing a resume along with that letter of intent will help that recommender come up with what to say. It will help them really focus in on some of your achievements. It will help focus in on your career goals, the path you're currently on, certainly with education or work experience that you've been in. So being able to provide that information is going to be helpful in them for really creating a strong letter of recommendation. With Kaleidoscope, there is an option when you send that request to a recommender for any of the applications, you have the option to add a message. So certainly you want to, again, add a message in that text box so that they know why they're receiving it, but you also want to reach out separately to make sure they know, certainly ahead of time, about the scholarship, about the letter of recommendation. Again, sending them that letter of intent along with the resume So kind of putting in both areas so that they know what that link is that they're receiving randomly from Kaleidoscope. They're already aware that it's going to come through. There are times with more the technical side of things where recommenders are not getting that link to submit a letter of recommendation. If that happens, you can reach out to us and we can walk you through what the next steps are. Really, it's just the recommender will log into Kaleidoscope using the email address you requested, sent the request to, and they'll be able to sign in and complete it without that email link that may or may not have gone through. But if they don't receive that link, just let us know and we can walk them through the process. So with that, you do want to make sure that you're asking now. You only have 3 weeks left, and it can take up to even 4 weeks to get a letter of recommendation in. So right now is a good time, if you haven't already, have somebody picked out and start reaching out to them no later than the end of this week. You really want to make sure you're respectful of their time. They might be receiving a lot of these sorts of requests as it is scholarship time. So make sure you're reaching out now and then following up. Follow up to make sure that they received that link. Follow up to make sure that they have submitted the letter on time. And if possible, confirm that it was on letterhead. We do want to make sure for the, again, graduate and junior, senior, fifth year senior, that it is on, school or company letterhead, and request a copy if they're comfortable with that, just so you have an idea of what maybe they have said, and so you can keep that in case it's needed at a later time for submission.
I think this one always feels hard because you feel like you don't have a lot of control over this aspect of the application. But these tips are really to help you realize that you actually do have a lot of control over the type of letter of recommendation that you get. And that goes out to, making the right choice, making sure you have a strong letter of recommendation. We don't see a lot of negative recommendations, certainly, but we do see a lot that are really average. And I've even had professors write, I don't really know this student very well. I can tell you what grade they got in my class. And so you don't want to be that student that gets that recommendation, certainly. And then again, I really just feel empowered to, I know it always feels difficult when we have to ask someone else for something, but most professors consider this a part of their job to write letters of recommendation, and everyone's been in your position of having to ask for a letter of recommendation, and we know it can be uncomfortable. The longer you wait, the more awkward it gets. So reach out quickly and soon, and really take those steps to ensure that you get a strong letter in the end.
So again, deadline is February 14th. You have 3 weeks from today, February 14th at midnight. So by the end of that day, you need to hit the submit button on your resume in Kaleidoscope. You can start now and save as you go. So you don't need to have everything ready to go right when you start the application. You can get in there, start answering those questions, get into the essays and start preparing all of that material, and then save as you have stuff ready. Again, making sure you hit the submit button by the 14th. If you do have questions, the foundation email address is on here. That goes to me and Monette. I'll also put our direct contact information at the end if you want to reach out to us directly. We are always happy to answer any questions that come up regarding the scholarships, eligibility, the application process, anything like that. So feel free to reach out if you get stuck somewhere or you're not sure what the next steps are. We can help you walk through the process of getting that application submitted on time. If you are having technical issues, we would recommend trying to switch browsers, or reaching out directly to Kaleidoscope. Their email address is there. Monette and I might be able to help with some parts, but with the technical aspects for some of those things, we may not be the best people to reach. You can try us and we can help you get in touch with Kaleidoscope if you like. But if there are severe technical issues, reach out to Kaleidoscope. They're really good about getting back in a timely fashion. Let's see. So with that, why should you apply for one of these scholarships? Certainly there is the tuition money, and you know, a lot of it, again, with over 500,000. Last year, 67% of students that applied received a scholarship. So you're fairly likely to get one by just applying. But more than the tuition money, there is that recognition. So we recognize all of our scholarship winners amongst all of our members. We mention them in social media posts, in our magazine. We mention them in blog posts, on our website, they're listed. All sorts of opportunities within the WSCPA with our professional members who are, again, potentially hiring managers or recruiters for various firms and industries, getting that recognition out there to our members. And part of that is our foundation reception. So we invite anybody connected to the foundation. So the board, the reviewers, the donors, and certainly our scholarship winners, both past and present, to get together for a networking event amongst each other that is specific, again, to the foundation. So a great way to interact with peers as well as professionals in this section of the WSCPA. Certainly adding it to your resume, one of those accomplishments, those achievements that you can be proud of and add to a resume. And on top of all of that, you get a free year membership to the WSCPA. So lots and lots of reasons to apply. And certainly starting now, saving as you go, and making sure everything is submitted by the 14th. QR code takes you to our website with the links and everything. Again, you do not need to be a WSCPA member to apply. It is open to accounting students planning to become CPAs. Don't need to be a WSCPA member. Does anybody have any questions about that section of the scholarship application? Materials, how to submit them, what to do with them, the reviewers, anything like that? All right, we got a couple minutes. So I did mention that while you don't need to be a WSCPA member, you can add it as that community involvement piece on an application. It is typically $40 through the year. That's June through May. Since we're a little over halfway through the year, it is now $20. So you get a great deal with a lot of benefits. Some that I've already mentioned, the virtual resume review, so that professional growth side, some of those networking events. We have our small firm career fair. So recruiters who are actively looking for internship and entry-level positions get to meet with our student members. We have discounts on the CPA exam review courses. So Becker, UWorld, Roger, Gleam, Surgent, we have those discounts available for our students, as well as discounts on other products and the ethics exam if you're at that position. And then all sorts of other things. We have our Passport corporate card, which provides all sorts of discounts on retail, dining, travel, shopping, whatever it is. There's probably a discount for it on Passport. Student members get access to all of the member benefits. and they get that immediately as soon as they join. One of those benefits is with our Connect community. That's like our social media platform within the WSCPA, getting to interact with professionals in different areas or specialties of accounting. For our students, we have specifically our Coffee and Conversations group, which allows students to schedule informational interviews with professionals in whatever industry, firm, or specialty that student is interested in. So if you're looking for healthcare or governmental work or auditing or tax, we have our WSCPA members who are professionals, who have that experience, who are ready and willing to talk to students about what it takes to get into those positions. We have our CPA Exam Accelerator group. The QR code takes you to our fireside chats, but the group is for students preparing to take the CPA exam, sharing tips and strategies, providing support to each other, getting guidance on the exam or licensure. And then with our chats, we bring in professionals and the review course providers to talk about the exam, about strategies for taking it, how to study, how to stay motivated, all of those pieces. So QR code goes to our bundle. We do one every other month. And our next one is coming up in March. You also, as a member of that group, have access to past presentations. And you can sign up if you're a WSCPA member of the group for the Lucky Socks. Always great to have when you're studying or going into the exam. Those are free for our student members who join the group. And then we have Student Accounting Accelerator. This is a video series that is covering all sorts of topics for the accounting profession. Diversity and inclusion strides with accounting. It talks about different areas of accounting, so professionals talking about their work background, how to move up in the career ladder, resume and meet the firm, tips, general information about the WSCPA and joining professional organizations. So all sorts of videos, all sorts of great information. And with that, I want to say thank you. Certainly feel free to reach out if you have questions. The video is recorded, so we will share that along with all of the links that were provided in case you missed any of the QR codes or any of the other links. If there are any questions, I know we're a couple minutes over, but we are happy to stick around for a little bit to answer any questions that folks may have. And thank you again very much. We really appreciate you being here and for your interest in the WSCPA and the foundation scholarships.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Well, I don't see any questions, but if there are, always feel free to email or give us a call. Always happy to answer questions. Thank you again for being here and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.